How badly does François Hollande need to have a free hand in Parliament if he's to push through policies in France, obviously, but also foreign policies, especially for Europe?
Well, I mean, the actual presidential election, if you like, was a referendum on Nicolas Sarkozy. And this legislative election is really a referendum on François Hollande. He has to get a good working majority in order to move on to the next phase of what he wants to do. Whether he's going to get an absolute majority or a relative majority and therefore will govern with the Greens and sundry other little left-wing groups remains to be seen. The results are coming in right now. But he needs that in order to have a working presidential majority. Now, whether it's an absolute majority or a relative majority doesn't really matter for the European level because everybody agrees with him. Everybody agrees with the campaign intentions that he said he would stand up to Germany, he would redo the fiscal treaty and so on. The question...
growth rather than austerity.
Growth rather than austerity, or yes. Now, whether he's going to get it or not, whatever his majority is another question, because it is quite clear that growth to the Germans doesn't mean the same thing. Even if they might say, yes, we need growth, it might be a different kind of growth that they're after. Nevertheless, he will need his either relative or absolute majority in order to enhance his stature as he steps up to what de Gaulle used to call the big quarrels of foreign policy.
Let's take a look now at something that has implications for the rest of Europe, because it is a European trend, the far right's surge. How crucial would it be for the far right to get into the National Assembly? How significant would it be?
One MP would be a major triumph. Symbolically, it would have no effect politically. Symbolically, it would be enormously important. And the far right has been having some successes across Europe, but the French are kind of symbolically leading the way. They have done for 20 years with Marine Le Pen's father. And she has taken this party from her father and turned it into her party. And the high abstention rate that has been predicted may mean that it's a bit complicated, that the National Front candidates will need to get 12.5% of registered, not actual voters, to go through to the next round next Sunday to kind of cause mayhem. If they do, they will cause mayhem. But one MP, two MPs, three MPs will be a major triumph for the French National Front as Marine Le Pen takes this party forward and tries to do maximum damage to the mainstream right, which she may in fact do.
That's right, because you were talking about making damage. It is to the right. What is the Conservative UMP's position at this point?
Well, there was a fear after Sarkozy lost and Marine Le Pen had done so well in the first round of the presidential election, there was a feeling that the UMP, the mainstream right, would implode. It hasn't.
Yes.
And yeah, exactly. It might do, Monday week. But it hasn't yet. It's kind of holding its own. It needs some steady hands and some cool heads in order to... Because there's no reason why it should implode, with or without Sarkozy. This is the mainstream right party of France. But if things go wrong, if the FN do really well and the UMP cannot sustain their kind of grip on themselves almost, then we're in for trouble, because it means that Hollande might have his majority, but he is facing a massively hostile opposition in the country. 6.5 million people voted for Marine Le Pen in the first round of the presidential election. We'll see how many voted in about an hour's time.
Okay.